Hello and welcome to Plants vs. Germans. Today I'm going to tour our garden in late December. So let's get started. This raised bed was actually like a mixed bed. We had different kinds of stuff in there. We had 2 tomatoes in here. We had some radish in the back here. You can still see it. Most of it we just didn't harvest. The same goes for the tomatoes here. Still some on there, but definitely can't eat them anymore. And the radish in the back here has gotten quite large and is very woody, so you can't eat that either. And the only thing we have in here that you can actually still eat are those leeks here. They look actually quite decent, especially since we had 55 centimeters of snow here a few weeks ago, so they still look fine. Definitely can harvest those, although some of them are still quite small, so I might just leave them in for the whole winter. And back here we planted a few more garlics, just small plants right now, just 2 rows in here, and actually we have a couple more in here. This was the potato bed. You can still see some leftover sweet potatoes in here. This big thing here, and even some small ones. Those one in the back here, those are small potatoes that we just didn't harvest. Still have a few in this bucket here. Don't really know what we're going to do with it. This year we're a bit late on harvesting a lot of the vegetables, so we actually have quite a few left in the beds here that are just rotting away, unfortunately. Same goes for those Hokkaidos in here. I wasn't home, and so were a few other people, and the ones who were here just didn't harvest, unfortunately, so those are completely wrecked. Oh, that's gross, so you can really actually dent it. So in here, nothing left. Didn't plant anything in here. You can see how much soil is just getting used. Like, it was filled up till at least up to here. So another, like 10 centimeters, 15, 20 centimeters higher. And the plants just use it up right away. So we actually have one big Hokkaido left. This is a monster. You rarely see like big pumpkins, especially Hokkaidos like this, but it's been outside for really long with all the snow, so it has a few areas in the back here where it's just breaking apart already, but I think you can still use it, but we better use it soon. Right here we have the raised bed with the eggplants. You can still see the plants here, but they're all dead. And the same with the eggplants as with all of our plants. You can still see a few hanging here, all shriveled up, dried up, and we just didn't harvest them, unfortunately. You can still see a few laying there. Quite a few. I assume it must have been like 30 to 40 eggplants that haven't been used, which is a shame. Although they were quite small, it's still a shame. Here we have our physalis. It's always hard to actually harvest all of them, so we did harvest quite a few, but as you can see, most of them still fall down. You can only eat so many of them. And the only thing that lives in here right now is this artichoke. It's been growing quite nicely, and I'm super surprised that this one survived the snow. As I said, 55 centimeters of snow, so quite a bit, and it looks great. It's really juicy, still has like really nice leaves, so I'm really hoping that this survives the winter and we'll have our first artichokes next year. The tomato beds are empty as well. As you can still see some of the tomatoes on there and in the beds, like we haven't cleaned them out yet, but we'll definitely do that next. And the thing we have in here are some leeks. We actually have quite a few in here, as you can see. They're all cramped together, which wasn't meant to be like this, but what can you do? And oh no, those are onions, I'm sorry. I think red onions. And we left them in there for quite a while, and they're actually, yeah, stuck together. Well, that's fine. We just let them grow, and we might be able to harvest something, which would be nice. But the rest in here, all the tomatillos and everything, it's all gone now, obviously, since we had cool temperatures. Even though it's getting warm again, but still it looks like nothing will be growing anytime soon, since we still have late December. The raised herb bed looks kind of wrecked too. As you can see, only the hardy herbs are surviving right now and clinging onto. So this is the orange mint. This will definitely survive the winter, as will the coke bush here, because this one is super interesting because it just smells like Coca-Cola gummy bears, which is quite nice. It's really pleasant, and you can make drinks out of it. And this is a hardy plant too, and now you can see how great those have been growing, right? It's a big bush right now. Same goes for the sage right here. This must be the pineapple sage, and back here is the honey melon sage, but those aren't hardy apparently. But I'm still hoping that there will be some offshoots coming out in spring, but you never know. Like, if they're dead, they're dead. That's just how it goes. And I don't even remember what kind of herbs we had in the back here, but they all look quite dead. So maybe some of them are gonna come back, but I assume that only the orange mint here and the Coca-Cola bush here will survive. We actually had to get rid of our tunnel here because we're building a new stable for the horses. So this doesn't have a place right now, but we're probably going to put it over the no dig beds here. And you can see something that we built a few weeks ago, and we just upgraded the no dig bed here and the one or two in the back here, because we wanted to have just a rim for the no dig bed so we can always fill it with fresh horse manure, especially during the fall time, right? So it has some time to just work and turn over the earth. And yeah, so we're going to do the same thing with the, at least I think 4 or 5 beds in a row here. And here you see the leftovers for winter, all the brassicas. And they actually, we had like so much snow and they were just crushed underneath the snow, but we still have quite a few that we can harvest. The Brussels sprouts here, most of them are Brussels sprouts, same goes for this one. Yeah, you can see the big ones in there. Quite nice, and some of them were eaten by the chickens since we removed the fence here, but that's fine. Some more brassicas here that we can still grab, and those are mainly Brussels sprouts. And the same goes for the ones in the back here. We have some green kale here, and you can see a lot of Brussels sprouts on those plants here. Yeah, they do look great. Like, we still have quite a few. Those will be quite a few meals. Same goes for the kale. Still going strong. Don't have a lot, obviously, but enough for just a bit. But it does look great, and we have to use it for sure. Back there we had some red Brussels sprouts, but I think they're done for. Oh, some of them are still on there. Just a few, but not a lot going on. This one is empty already, and this one is almost cleaned off entirely, but quite thick. Those suckers can get quite big, but as you can see, just from the snow, it just turned over, laid flat. Still surviving, right, but it's not going to produce anymore. Just like 1 or 2 new buds coming out, but that's it. We got the corn in this bed, but that's cleaned out entirely. And actually, those Brussels sprouts in the back here, they were from 2 years ago. We just left the trunk in the soil, and it came out again. And I think it actually produced a bit. Yeah, you can see just like really small ones. And they came out of here. That's the old trunk from last year. And they came out, and actually, well, I'm quite happy. Some of them actually produced, but we just want to leave that in so it can just fall apart in the soil and just help fix the soil a bit. And we thought they were dead, right, the roots, but apparently not. And here's the same. Those were the tomatoes on the trellis that actually produced quite good this year. And we also built a frame for this bed. Same goes for the other one, right? And filled it with fresh horse manure. So since we only have December, it still has some time to get to work. And I think next year we'll have at least a bit of soil in here, and we don't have to put any more horse manure on here. And this was like well, you couldn't call it a garden bed. It was just like an area where we had some mulch on it. We had the zucchinis and the pumpkins. You can still see here that we left here, unfortunately, and most of them are rotting right now. But we hardly produced any pumpkins. We had like 8 or 9 plants, and as you can see, they're tiny and just didn't really produce nicely. Just, yeah, really small. The only one is the Marina di Cioggia right here. That's still quite good and nice. You can actually still use that for cooking. I have another one back there. Yeah, so this bed didn't produce at all. The plants had a really rough time growing in the mulch and the wood chips. So we actually framed a bed here, which is quite wide. So I think that's the widest bed we have now. And yeah, I think next year when we put the pumpkins and the zucchinis on there, they're going to produce way better. And we still have, the only thing that stands here are the sunflowers, and we actually didn't plant those this year. We had sunflowers there 2 years ago, and they seeded themselves out and grew really nicely. As you can see, it produced quite a lot of flowers. And yeah, I think that's going to sow itself out again, so we won't have to really care about growing sunflowers next year, because they're just going to come naturally, which is quite nice. So this is just a small garden update from my old garden, since I don't live here anymore, but I still come here quite often and just tend the plants and look at everything. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. Have a nice day, and see you next time.